Alright guys, I am back yet again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 2 of my Dark States Kheios glitter deck. So version 2, everything through the additional special set, so through a fraction of the booster set 11. And this deck, just like all the other glitter decks, has received a very big upgrade with new forms for both Kheios and Mikani, so both our Vanguard and Rearguard glitters, which allows the deck to hit even bigger numbers than it could before on all your attacks, as well as making it a lot easier for you to consistently loop your grade 3 Mikanis in and out of your soul, for you to more reliably get those full 5 attacks every turn. So as always, we'll go through the deck and then we'll show it off in one card fight. So starting first with the ride deck, it is same as before with our grade 0 starter being one with Profound Mercy Kheios. So when he's rode upon, if you 1 second draw a card, same old starter skill as always. Next for the grade 1, we have In the Calm Streets Kheios. So its auto ability says when this unit is rode upon by Quagmire of Solace Kheios, you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, put all normal units from among them into your soul, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And additionally, this card is a glitter, which just turns on some of our rearguard abilities. So this auto ability lets you put potentially up to 2 cards into your soul for free. It is an RNG factor on this skill since it depends on what you reveal. So if you get normal units, they go to soul. If you get orders or trigger units, they go to the bottom of your deck. So you could actually get nothing out of this if you reveal, 2 orders or triggers. So your mileage may vary on this skill, but potentially a +2 to your soul. Next for the grade 2. We have Quagmire of Solace Kheios. So his auto ability is when this unit is rode upon by Approaching Fangs Kheios, you soul charge 1, and if the soul charged card was a trigger unit, you draw a card, and if it was a normal unit, you choose up to 1 card from your soul and call it to Rearguard Circle. And again, this card is a glitter. So again, this is another skill where your mileage may vary a little bit. If you soul charge a trigger off of this, you get to draw. So then it's a +1 to your soul and a +1 to your hand. If you soul charge a normal unit, then you can call 1 out of your soul to Rearguard Circle. So in which case it's just a +1 to your board. Or if you soul charge an order card, then you don't get to do anything but soul charge. So then it's just a +1 to your soul. So no matter what, it'll benefit you in some way, either increasing your soul, increasing your hand, or increasing your board. But yeah, what you get out of that is very much luck dependent. So then lastly, our grade 3 is Approaching Fangs Kheios. So he has his activate ability that says once per turn, you can counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand to look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Choose 1 card from among them, put into your hand. Choose up to 1 unit card from among them, call it to Rearguard Circle, and put the rest into your soul. So this ability lets you take the top 3 of your deck and put 1 to soul, 1 to hand, and 1 to field. Potentially you can do more to your soul if you'd rather have them in your soul. But overall that would make this a counterblast 1 for a +1 if you do 1 to each spot. So again, your mileage may vary on this depending on what you get in the top 3. Hopefully you get at least 1 good normal unit that you want to call to Rearguard Circle out of it. And then the other cards will go to your soul or your hand. So even if you end up putting a trigger to your hand or something, it can at least be a good shield card. So again, somewhat of a luck factor there, but it can increase your card advantage and your soul count. And then he also has his auto ability that says when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, you choose 1 of your rearguards and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. And if your soul has 13 or more cards with different card names, you choose all of your rearguards instead. And again, this card is a glitter. So very nice skill being able to power up all your rearguards if you get the 13 different names into your soul, or just 1 rearguard if you only have 8 different names. So we are running a lot of one-ofs in this deck. All of our trigger units all have different names. All of our perfect guards all have different names. Most of the cards in the deck have different names specifically, so we can soul charge as many different names as possible, so we can get that skill online as fast as possible. Now you can potentially hit the 13 names on turn 3, but it requires a little bit of luck. A lot of times you are just going to have the 8 different names on that turn. But you still should be able to power up at least one rear guard with this in most cases. So overall, a very nice offensive ability. So that is the ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we have 4 copies of our new Kheios form. Soul Oratorio Kheios. So his auto ability says when this unit is placed by riding from approaching Fangs Kheios, you may soul charge 3. Then you choose up to 2 cards from your soul, put 1 card from among them into hand, call the rest to rearguard circle, and activate Persona Ride. So you still can get the Persona Ride benefits when you ride into this card, even though he does have a different name from OG Kheios. And this ability overall is just an improved version of OG Kheios' activate ability, since that ability lets you put 1 to hand, 1 to soul, and 1 to field from the top 3 of your deck. This ability basically does the same thing, except you soul charge all 3 of them first, and then you can toolbox from your entire soul to get the card onto your field and into your hand. So, gives you a lot better options about what you want to call and what you want to get into your hand. It's also cost free, so you don't have to counterblast and discard anymore, so that does turn this into a +2 overall for free, so better in terms of that as well. Plus, since we can toolbox from our entire soul now, it does make it a lot easier to loop those grade 3 Mikanis out of your soul back onto your field. It can also grab anything that you soul charged with your various card abilities that you would rather have into your hand. You can use this to get it back. So you can grab a perfect guard, you can grab one of your normal orders if you want to use it, you can grab another copy of this card to potentially Persona Ride again next turn, or you can just grab another rear guard that you'd like to have and then just normal call it from your hand. So a much more versatile ability that is definitely a great improvement on this deck and very helpful in getting your combo pieces where you need them to be. And then he also has his activate ability that says once per turn, if your soul has 13 or more cards with different card names, you can bind an approaching Fangs Kheios from your soul, and until end of turn, all of your units get power plus 10,000, and this unit gets critical plus 1. Then at the end of that turn, you ride the card bound for this cost as rest. And once again, this card is also a glitter. So again, this ability is a more powerful version of the OG Kheios' auto ability, while this one allows you to power up your entire board by 10k, all of your units, including Kheios himself, as opposed to just your rear guards like OG Kheios. So you can power up 6 units instead of 5. Also, your Vanguard gains an extra crit out of it, so your Vanguard column should be swinging for some pretty big numbers, especially if you have a booster behind him with that extra crit pressure as well. Plus, the other good thing about this is that since it's an activate ability, you'll get that power gain before your battle phase starts, which means that both your Mikanis attacks will be powered up, as opposed to just their second attacks like before, since OG Kheios had his power gain trigger when he attacked himself. So if you have the 2 copies of the grade 3 Mikani set up in your front row, then this ability will power both of them up during the main phase, and all 5 of your attacks will be strengthened that turn. So a very powerful ability. The only downside to it is that it doesn't have a lower condition to meet like OG Kheios does, since he can still do something if you only have 8 different names in your soul. This ability does require the full 13 different names. So if you can't get your entire soul set up right, this card basically can't do anything. So you do want to make sure you get those 13 names in, which this card is a turn 4 play at the soonest, so usually by then you will be able to do so without too much trouble. So you shouldn't have to worry about that too much, but do make sure that you get the full 13 in order to be able to use this card. So next we have 4 copies of our rearguard glitter, Cool-Headed Executor Mikani. So he has an auto ability that says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you can counterblast one and soul blast one to choose one of your opponent's rearguards with the same grade as the card soul blast for this cost, and retire it. So this ability doesn't get used a ton. It can help you pick off one of your opponent's rearguards if they got something really annoying that you want to get rid of. But it does cost you 1 from your soul, so you do need to be careful about using it so you don't, drop yourself under the 13 names that you need. It also costs a counterblast, but this deck isn't as counterblast heavy as it was before, since the new version of Kheios doesn't use any counterblasts. So mainly you just have to be careful about your soul count when using this ability. So if you have the extra soul to go for it, then you can pick off one of your opponent's units. But yeah, just don't screw yourself out of your 13 names in the process. So then he also has his glitter ability that's active if your Vanguard is a glitter with Kheios in its card name. That is an auto ability that says once per turn when your Vanguard attacks. If your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, you stay in this unit, and if you stay in this unit, you put this unit into your soul at the end of turn. So this is the key ability of this deck, giving you a 4th and potentially 5th attack as well if you have 2 copies of him in your front row. So he does just restand himself for free. Now, at the end of the turn, he will go into your soul, so you will have to use one of your card's abilities to loop him back out of your soul onto your board to use him again next turn. But we have a multitude of ways to do that in this deck, including, the new Kheios' ability. So it shouldn't be too hard to loop him back out. And of course, by putting him into your soul, that does protect him from your opponents retiring him or binding him or whatever. So there actually can be some benefit to that as well. So that is all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 1 copy of Inciting Corruption Agamemnoff. So he has 2 auto abilities. First one says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Kheios in its card name, you can counterblast one to look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card from among them, put it in the hand, and put the rest into soul. So a pretty nice on-call ability. It is a counterblast 1 for a +1, while also getting you a card into your soul. So it increases your soul count. It gives you a semi-selective draw, since you can grab 1 out of the top 2. So increases your hand, increases your soul. Pretty good ability. And he also has a second auto ability that's active when he's in your soul. That says when your unit with Mikani in its card name is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Kheios in its card name, you can discard a card from hand to soul charge 1, call this card to rearguard circle, and this unit gets boost until end of turn. So this ability can be useful in helping build your board whenever you call out a Mikani, either from your hand or soul or wherever. If this card is in your soul, then you can just discard 1, and you get to soul charge and then call him from your soul. So he replaces himself in the soul, so you don't have to worry about hurting your soul count. And you get another body onto your board. He gains boost until end of turn, so you can plop him in the back row, and he can be a 10k booster for that 1 turn at least. So your front row circles will still be open for your 2 copies of Mikani. And since his first ability isn't restricted to being called from hand, that will also trigger his first ability as well. So you can potentially get the draw and the extra soul off of that. So just a versatile option for this deck. Next we got 1 copy of Enmity's Dragon. So his auto ability says when this card is put into your soul by a card's ability during your turn, if your Vanguard is a glitter, you choose one of your Vanguards and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So just a very simple power-up ability. If he ends up going to your soul by any card effect, you do give your Vanguard an extra 5k. So if you blind soul charge him off of anything, if you find him in the top 3 off of OG Kheios' ability, you can put him into your soul and gain that extra power. So a pretty simple ability, not really vital by any means. If you want to replace this with anything else, you can feel free to do so. I'm mostly just running him because I really like his artwork. So next we got 1 copy of Diverse Wildmaster Honoratio. So he has two continuous abilities. First one says during your turn, if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, this unit gets boost and power plus 5,000. And then his second continuous ability is active on Rearguard or Guardian Circle. That says if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, this card can intercept from the back row and get shield plus 5,000. So this card can basically be a 15k booster and then a 10k intercept from your back row. So a very helpful card. Again, it's a grade 2 that you can put on your back row to keep your front row open for your Mikanis. Or if for whatever reason you don't have 2 copies of Mikani in your front row, you still can put him in the front, and he can be a 15k attacker and still a 10k intercept. So just a nice card for filling in any slot on your board that you need him in, and still allowing you to have him as a defensive option as well. So next we got one copy of Amazing Frost. So his auto ability says when this unit is placed on a Rearguard circle, you can Soul Blast 1 to draw a card, choose a card from your hand, put it into your soul. Then if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. And if your soul has 10 or more cards with different card names, this unit gets power plus 10,000 instead. So this is another card that isn't really necessary if you want to replace this with whatever else you can. The main point of this card is to fix your soul if you end up with multiple copies of the same name in your soul and you're not able to hit that 13 different names threshold. You can use this card to Soul Blast out one of the duplicates from your soul, and then you get to draw and put a card from hand in the soul to replace it. So it doesn't increase your overall soul count, but it can potentially help get a different name in there while also powering up himself as well. So it's just a soul fixing option. It's not as needed as much anymore, especially since, you know, we have the new form of Kheios. His ability can help do that as well. Plus your persona rides, well, at least your first persona ride will be getting a different name into your soul as well, since you have the 2 different grade 3 Kheios forms. So yeah, if you want to replace this with something else you can, but I did just keep him in as a one of. Next we have one copy of Hypno Grasper. So he has a continuous ability when he's on your back row Rearguard circle. That says during your turn, if your soul has 6 or more cards, this unit gets boost. And if your soul has 12 or more cards, it gets power plus 10,000. So again, a very simple ability, but it's another grade 2 that you can put on your back row to keep those front rows open for Mikani. And he can just be a 20k booster sitting in your back row, as long as you have 12 or more cards in your soul. So he can be very helpful in helping your columns hit some bigger numbers. But yeah, he's just there to be a big booster for your back row. So then lastly for the grade 2s, we have one copy of Selfish Engraver. So she has 2 auto abilities. First one says when this unit's attack hits, you Soul Charge 1. So just another Soul Charge option for the deck. And then her second auto ability, at the end of the battle this unit attacked, if your soul has 10 or more cards, you put this unit into your soul and counter charge 1. So she can also be a counter charge option for the deck. Again, the counter blast isn't as bad in this deck anymore, but we still do have quite a bit of counter blasting skills, so having that option is still nice. Plus, since she puts herself into the soul, that can also get another name in there for you as well. So that is all the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 3 copies of our new Rearguard glitter form, Go Ahead Mikani. So his auto ability says when this unit's placed on Rearguard circle, you may Soul Charge 1. So again, just another Soul Charge option. Then he also has his Activate ability that says if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can put this unit into your soul to choose up to 1 grade 3 card with Mikani in its card name from your soul and call it to Rearguard circle. So this is another option to cycle out your grade 3 Mikanis from your soul back onto your board. You can call him, Soul Charge off his first ability, then shove him into soul and call out the grade 3 Mikani to replace him. So that should get 2 different names into your soul in the process, while also getting your grade 3 Mikani on the board where you need him to get your extra attack. So a very helpful card, and getting him into your soul also sets up his glitter ability that's active when he's in the soul. That says when you would count the number of different card names in your soul for your card's ability, all go-ahead Mikani in your soul each count as a different card name. So if you end up with multiple copies of this in your soul, it will not interfere with your game plan whatsoever, since all of them will count as different names. So you can safely use his activate ability as much as needed in order to cycle him in and the grade 3 Mikanis out, since he will count as different names in your soul, but grade 3 Mikani will not. And of course you want him on rearguard to restand himself anyway. So an extremely good card for this deck, makes it a lot more consistent. You could drop one of those optional cards I mentioned earlier and bump this up to 4 copies if you want, but I have generally found that 3 is usually enough. So next up, we got 1 copy of Steam Maiden Barney. So her auto ability says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand, if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, you can counterblast one to choose a grade 1 or less card from your soul, call it the rearguard circle. And if your soul has 10 or more cards with different card names, you choose a grade 4 or less card instead of a grade 1 or less card. So this is another option to call your Mikanis out of your soul that is actually a little bit better than it was before, since we have the grade 1 Mikani. So if you have both Mikani forms in your soul, but only 8 or 9 card names, you can use her ability to call out the grade 1 Mikani, and then you'll get the soul charge off of his ability, and then put him right back in to call out the grade 3 Mikani. So she can actually still grab the grade 3 Mikani, even if you don't have the 10 different names in your soul, if you have the grade 1 Mikani in there as well. So a nice card in that regard. Or she can also just grab any other rearguard you want out of your soul and get it onto your board as well. So again, just a useful option to help build your board. So next we have 1 copy of Evil Eye of Prohibition, Quinn Lu. So her activate ability lets you put this unit into your soul to choose one of your rearguards, and it gets power plus 2,000 until end of turn. Then if your soul has 7 or more cards, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from their hand to Guardian Circle for the battle that rearguard attacks this turn. So again, a magnificent card for this deck. It puts itself to soul, so it gives you another name. That is a minus, but it powers up one of your rearguards and gives them a very nice guard restrict, blocking them from calling grade 1 or greater cards. So usually you target your grade 3 Mikani with this card, and then they won't be able to perfect guard it with anything except Sanctitude, obviously. So you'll get double the mileage out of that as well, since Mikani can restand himself, so that guard restrict will apply for both of his attacks that turn. So you combine that with the big power up that he's getting from Kheios, and it can make your Mikani attacks very, very dangerous. I am just keeping this at 1, again, if you want to take out some of those other cards I mentioned and replace them with another copy or 2 of this card in order to get it more consistently. You can go that route as well. However, if you do find the 1 copy of it, then you can loop it back out of your soul into your hand using the new Kheios' ability. So you can potentially reuse her through that skill as well. So next we have 1 copy of Brainwash Swirler. So its auto ability, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you soul charge 1. So yet another soul charging ability. And his second auto skill says when your card is put into your soul by soul charge, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 5,000 till end of turn. So a snowballing power gain for every time you soul charge that turn. So it does have to be a specific soul charge ability, not, card put into your soul ability. But if you have this on your board when you Persona Ride into the new Kheios, he will let you soul charge 3. So that'll power him up by 15k right there. So this card can potentially hit some very big numbers on your board. Next we have 1 copy of Avid Heaper. So his auto ability says when this unit boosts a grade 2 or greater, you may soul charge 1. So just a nice optional reusable soul charge skill. I usually like just plopping him behind my Vanguard. So every time I attack, I have that option to get that extra soul charge. So a nice way to build up your soul count. Next we have one copy of Direful Doll Amandine. So her continuous ability says during your turn, if your soul has 10 or more cards, this unit gets power plus 10,000. So she can be an 18k body on your board, booster or attacker, whatever you need her to be, usually a booster most of the time. So again, hitting even bigger numbers. And she also has her activate ability that says once per turn you can counterblast one, and until end of turn, when you would soul charge by your card's ability, you increase that number by 1. So she can increase the potency of all your soul charging abilities, so things like Avid Heaper, Brainwash Swirler, Go Ahead Mikani, whatever that usually soul charge 1, this will turn them on to soul charge 2. So that can help build up your soul a lot faster. If you combine it with Brainwash Swirler, that will power him up even further as well. So again, just a helpful ability for this deck. So next for the grade 1s, we do just have our Sentinels. So first off, we have one copy of Recusal Hate Dragon. So just your standard Perfect Guard. Next we have our differently named standard Perfect Guard, one copy of Repelled Malice Dragon. And of course one copy of Steam Maiden R. Limb. And then our last Sentinel is of course one copy of the Blitzorder Elementaria Sanctitude, which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So the only other grade 1s we have are our normal orders. So first off we have 3 copies of One Who Governs Kheios. So if you have a Vanguard with Kheios in its card name, you can play this with a Counterblast 1. And it lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to the same number of cards from among them as the number of cards in your soul with Kheios in their different card names, put them into your soul, and shuffle your deck. Then if your soul has 8 or more different cards, you choose up to 1 card from your soul, call it the rearguard circle, choose one of your rearguards with Mikani in its card name, and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So this is a very useful card for this deck, letting you soul charge potentially up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, if you have all the different Chaos forms in your soul. But if you play this on turn 3, you should be able to always get at least 3, thanks to your ride line. So a soul charge 3 to 5 from the top of your deck, as well as letting you call one out of your soul back onto your board. So again, it's a way to loop your Mikanis back out onto your field. And it also lets you power up one of your Mikanis by another 10k. So again, that'll increase the power of both of his attacks that turn, since this will happen during the main phase. So just a very helpful card for this deck, again helping you build your soul and build your board potentially as well. So then lastly for the grade 1s, we just have 1 copy of the new normal order, Song of Extolment Can Be Heard. So there's no cost to play this, and you can play it if you have a Vanguard with Kheios in its card name. And it lets you choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. Then you choose 3 normal units from your drop, put them into your soul, and put this card on the bottom of your deck. So this is just another option to fill your soul. It's a bit more situational than One Who Governs Kheios. However, it does let you effectively soul charge from the drop instead of from the deck. So it can help prevent deck out if you're starting to run low, but you still need to build up your soul for whatever reason. So it can get 3 normal units back out of your drop. So if you discarded something like Enmity's Dragon or one of your Mikanis or whatever early on for your ride deck or whatever, this can cycle them back into your soul to set up their abilities. And it also powers up your Vanguard by an extra 10k, so it makes your center column swing for some better numbers. And it puts itself to the bottom of the deck, so it can slightly help mitigate deck out there as well. So a bit more situational of a card, but I did just put it in as a one of to have another option for my normal order, and of course just another name as well. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have our trigger lineup, which I am using the same trigger lineup as I was before. So rainbow triggers with 4 crit, 3 front, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. And of course we're using all triggers of different names to maximize the different names in the deck. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have one copy of Connected Rampage Clin, just a vanilla crit. One copy of Diabolos Girls My. One copy of Lively Breath Dragon. And one copy of Stem Deviate Dragon, crit with a skill, then the ballet booster you can put into your soul to give someone plus 2k until end of turn. So again, just another option to get that extra name in your soul if you really need it. Next for the fronts, we have one copy of Diabolos Girls Natalia. So front with a skill, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, shield plus 5,000. So your 20k shield, front trigger. So then next we have our two vanilla fronts. So we have one copy of Huckle Hustle and one copy of Wirepull Subjugator. So next for the draws, we have one copy of Ryle's Wildmaster, Riley. So draw with a skill, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield draw trigger. And then our three vanilla draws with one copy of Insane Researcher, one copy of Vital Lever, and one copy of Advanced Clock Dragon. So then for the heals, we do just have 4 copies of the vanilla heals. Of course, if you want to run any of the effect heals at one ofs, you can. But for the vanilla heals, I have one copy of Diabolos Girls Ariana, one copy of Steam Skara Mal Nigal, one copy of Direful Doll Alexandra, and one copy of Caper Companion. And then lastly for our overtrigger, we have one copy of Hades Dragon Deity of Resentment, Galmage Held. So his additional effect says you get, during your turn, all of your Vanguards get power plus 10,000, critical plus 1 until end of this fight. So it gives basically a permanent crit trigger to your Vanguard. So this can be a very dangerous trigger, especially if you check it early on. It's not vital to the deck if you want to replace this with either of the nationless over triggers from the festival booster. You can use just whichever one you prefer, but I am just sticking with this one for now. So that is the deck, so we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And let's see, I think we'll fight Mika this time. And we will be going first. Alright, so we'll discard Hypno Grasper, I guess, to right. And then we'll just end our turn. And I'll let that one through. And we get a front trigger that is wasted. Alright, so we'll discard that crit, I guess. Alright. And grade 1 Mikani will let us look at the top 2, and we find one normal unit and one trigger unit. So the trigger goes to the bottom, and grade 1 Mikani goes to our soul. So then I'm just going to go ahead and attack. And Melty skill lets her call one and draw one. And she's gonna go full rush on us. So I'm going to let that one through.
Vanguardにアタック。スキル発動。
And Eileen left that card on the top of the deck, so it's probably some kind of trigger, but I'm gonna let it through anyway. And yeah, it was a draw trigger. And I hate to use it this early, but I'm gonna have to garter that over trigger, I think. So I really don't want to go to 4 that fast. Alright, so we'll have to discard one of these Kheios to ride Approaching Fangs Kheios. So grade 2 Kheios let us soul charge 1, and we soul charged a normal unit, so we can call 1 from our soul. So I'm going to call grade 1 Mikani, which will trigger his ability to let us soul charge. And we soul charge the grade 3 Mikani. So let's see, we will go ahead and use Kheios' activate ability to counterblast and discard 1, and I guess we'll have to drop that grade 1 Mikani. So then we can look at the top 3, and we can put 1 to hand, 1 to soul, and 1 to our field. So let's see, we'll add the order to our hand, and then we'll call Brainwash Swirler and put him there. So Kheios goes to our soul, and Brainwash Swirler lets us soul charge again, which powers him up by 5k. And we put another Mikani into the soul. So we have 6 different names in there right now. So I'm going to play one who governs chaos. So we'll counterblast 1. And we'll look at the top 5, and we can put up to 4 into our soul. So I'm going to put that draw, Mikani, Barney, and I think that's it for right now. So we'll put those 3, and then we can call out a Mikani. So we'll put him over there, and we'll give him an extra 10k. And I'm not going to use his ability right now. So let's see, we still have 2 Mikanis in our soul, but that is still 8 different names. So I will go ahead and call 1 more Mikani from my hand, and again, not use a skill. So I think we are good. So we will attack with the left Mikani first, not boosted. And then we'll attack with the right Mikani, again not boosted. And she guards. So then we'll attack with Kheios. And we'll use both the Mikani's skills to restand them. And Kheios' skill will let us give 10k to one of our rear guards, so we'll give that to the left Mikani. And we get a heal trigger, which we do get. So we will heal 1, and we will give that power to our left Mikani. So now we can attack with the left Mikani again, boosted this time, for 41,000. Let's that one through too. She gets a crit trigger. And then we'll attack once again with our right Mikani, boosted by Brainwash Swirler, for 36,000. She lets that one through too. So we got her to 5 already. And now both our grade 3 Mikanis will put themselves into the soul.
Vanguard にアタック。スキル発動。スキル発動。パワープラス。
So I will go ahead and guard that one.
Vanguard にアタックするわ。
And I'll let that one through. And we got a front trigger. And I think I'll let that one through too. She needs a trigger for it to even hit. And she did not get one. So now we can pseudo Persona Ride into Soul Oratorio Kheios. And we can use his ability to Soul Charge 3. And now we can pick 2 cards from our Soul. One to go to hand and one to go to the field. So I'm going to choose the grade 1 Mikani as well as we'll grab one of these grade 3 Mikanis. So we'll put the grade 3 in her hand and call the grade 1 to rear guard. And we'll get to activate Persona Ride, so we just Soul Charge 3 times. So that'll power up Brainwash Swirler by 15k. And then go ahead, Mikani will let us Soul Charge once again, which will give Brainwash Swirler another 5k. So then we can use Agamonof's skill and discard 1 from our hand. So we'll drop one of those orders. So we Soul Charge 1 and Superior Call him from the Soul, and we'll put him over there. So since we Soul Charged again, that powers up Brainwash Swirler 1 more time. And then we can use Agamonof's skill to Counterblast. And we can look at the top 2 and put 1 to hand and 1 to soul. So we'll grab that perfect guard to put into hand. So then I'm going to use Go Ahead Mikani's Activate ability to put him back into the soul and call out one of the grade 3 Mikanis, and we'll put him over here. and I'm not going to use his ability. So then we'll move Agamemnoff back. And let's see, I am going to call Quinn Lu from our hand and use her activate ability to put her to soul and give the power and guard restrict to Mikani. And then I am actually going to use the other go-ahead Mikani's ability and put him to soul as well to call out our other grade 3 Mikani. And again, not use his skill. And instead, I will play one who governs Chaos and Counterblast and reveal the top 5. And we could put all 5 into soul, but I'm actually not going to put any into soul because I think we got more than enough names. We got 16 cards, and yeah, they're all different names. So I'm actually not going to soul charge any of these, and instead I'm going to call out one from our soul. So I will call out Quinn Lu, and we can give 10k to one of our Mikani, so I'm going to give that to the left Mikani. And then I can use Quinn Lu's skill again to loop her back into soul and give that power and guard restrict to the left Mikani. So both our Mikanis have guard restrict now. So I will call Avid Heaper to back row center. And then we can activate Soul Oratorio Kheios' ability to bind approaching Fangs Kheios from our soul. And our whole board gains plus 10k, and Kheios gets an extra crit. So we're going to be swinging for some ridiculous numbers here. So we are going to attack with the left Mikani first, not boosted, for 45,000 with guard restrict. And she guards with her over trigger. So then we'll attack with the left Mikani, again not boosted, with 35 in guard restrict. So then we'll attack with Soul Oratorio Kheios, boosted by Avid Heaper, for a whopping 51,002 crit. And both our Mikanis will restand. And I am not going to soul charge with Avid Heaper because I don't want to deck out. And she perfect guards. And we get a heal trigger, which we don't get, but we are going to give that power to the right Mikani. And we get another heal trigger. So I'm going to give that to the right Mikani too. Just because I feel like it. So then we'll attack with the right Mikani, boosted by Brainwash Swirler for a whopping 98,000 with guard restrict. And she's got to let that one through. And that crit does not save her, so we got her with that one. So there you go, that was version 2 of my Kheios deck. Definitely a very large ceiling on this deck now. You can hit some very insane numbers. So I will be back soon with more deck profiles. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.